Snoops are here at Gossip Talk Shows Find Your Own Voice Lead from Within. With me today, I'm with Amanda Murray. How are you, Amanda?
I'm great. How are you?
Well, thank you. So, our topic today is rewrite your life story, how changing your perspective changes your life. Your life story isn't just about it isn't just what happened to you, it's how you interpret what's happened. Two people can experience the same event and walk away with completely different meanings. That's the power of perspective. If you ever feel stuck in a circle of pain, regret, or limitation, it might be time to take the pen back and rewrite your story. So, Amanda, I got this topic from your blog. Would you like to explain to our audience what was in your mind when you wrote this blog? And because it really, really goes deep with rewriting your story and not denying your past and stuff.
Yeah, so originally what I was doing when I was writing those blog entries was I had a goal for myself, and it was to write 52 blog entries in 52 weeks, all focusing on seeing abundance around me in my life. And so when we look at like our abundance of opportunities to rewrite our story, we can really look at shifting our perspective. And so when we shift our perspective, we actually like open doors to how we perceive things. And I think that's one of the things that sometimes we can get stuck in is like that poor me of like, why is this happening to me? Instead of thinking like, how is this happening for me? And when we shift our perspective into that, the doors really begin to open instead of the other mindset is like doors closing, like I have no control over the situation. And so the rewriting your life story really came from two different events that I attended. So one of them was a retreat that I went to on healing your childhood trauma, essentially, and it was called the Hoffman Institute. And I went to it like shortly after separating from my ex-husband, which was a very unhealthy relationship. And so, and it really dug deep into your childhood traumas and how you told your story as a child. And essentially it talked about how like you write out your story and like how when people first write out their stories, it generally focuses on like the majority of the negative things that have stuck because our brains are essentially wired to attach more to the negative things because that's how we survived at going through like the all of evolution, right? Is we survived by like we are aware of the negative things so that we can survive and like avoid that attack by an animal or something. But we haven't like quite our brains haven't evolved to like see the positives when we're not having to consciously be aware of being attacked by animals all the time. We haven't quite figured that anxiety piece out because anxiety is actually like a really good thing for us, except we're for evolution, but in the way that we live today, we don't necessarily have those external fears all the time and anxieties that helped us get to the point that we're in. So our brains haven't developed as quickly as society has developed. And so we have these anxious things and we have this ability to focus on the negatives more, but we can actually we have the power to rewire our brains and to shift those things. And so when we rewrite our story from the positive, you can see even in the exact same story how just looking at it from a different perspective can actually make it better. And so the example was this person who like wrote this story about having to travel they were like an army kid and they traveled all the time and how negative it was and how hard it was to like move all the time and blah 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 blah. And then the second story was the same person, but like it was so great. I got to see the whole world and I got to meet people and I have friends all over the world. And even though it's the exact same story, you, even as the listener, feel a lot differently about it. And so I had to rewrite my story from a perspective that was a lot lighter. And I didn't even realize that your brain goes to the negatives so often. So just becoming aware of that helps me in any situation start to like be like, okay, no, I'm feeling anxious and stressed about this, but how is this happening for me? Because it's obviously going to help me become stronger in some capacity or something, even though it might to others be perceived as a really negative event, it actually could be perceived as a positive event 10 years down the road or 15 years down the road. And when I look at my divorce, oh my goodness, I'm so grateful for it each and every day. No, like my house is so peaceful. My daughter's starting to really thrive, even though it took a really long time. Even as a teenager, she even the other day was like, Mom, I really, really am starting to love myself. And I'm like, that's great. Like, how many adults don't actually love themselves right now? Right. And so if you're learning how to love yourself and how to feel confident in your own body and learning how to manage your stress and learning how to identify when anxiety is taking over, you're already like light years ahead of most adults. And so that's kind of where that came from. What about you, Nomza? I know you came from Africa and that you probably could write your story as like, I grew up with nothing and like it'd be really negative, but you could also shift it to my childhood was so great. We were focused on community and my father did this for me. And but right, like there's two very different perspectives you could focus on with what I know about your life story too.
Yeah, my life story is I'm a woman who grew up with everything that I ever wanted. My family was not millionaires, but I just see that I was blessed growing up with having my parents, having my mom and dad, even though they divorced. I had another parents that extra parents that I loved. So I feel so blessed. And when I came to the UK, it was like I started to look at people like the life that they have, and you see people they're not so grateful. They're like, you know what, life is hard, which is it's fine if that's how they translate it. But to me, it was like, okay, if I have like £3, I can go buy chicken. I can go and buy food, but in Africa you can't. And I was like, this is amazing. So I had to learn to embrace life, just learn to have this gratitude and just realizing that life can and also growing up in Africa, I wasn't a child where everyone expected to travel overseas. I was very quiet, looking after myself. uh, but I just observe. Like I was listening to my daughter yesterday. My daughter goes, when I go to people, I go quiet and I listen, I observe what is going on. So that's who I am as well. I like it, Amanda, when you said like when things are happening, we don't have to say, why is it me? Like you have to say, why is this happening for me? I just shift your perspective. And also you said your brain goes to negative very often. Actually, that is the truth. Since I've started the cleansing, it's like I'm fighting myself. Like I'm fighting negativity all the time. My brain is like, when my soul is start thinking that way, I'm like, no, 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 we can't go that way. We've got to go that way. It's like it's a battle. I'm battling myself. So you then have to try to take your mind to like to tell yourself like a different story, like, and also what is so beautiful is when you tell a beautiful story about yourself, even if life it does not make sense, it ends up being, that story ends up coming to reality. The beautiful one ends up coming to reality. So I'm thinking, If I'm spending time thinking negative, that means I will be miserable. Honestly.
Mhm.
What do you think, Amanda?
Yeah, I think you really have the power to like make yourself miserable or to make yourself happy. And you're the only one who truly has control over that. And I know when we look at people with addictions or with like other things that they're struggling with, they're the only ones who have the power to overcome those things. You can help them along the way, but there's really like nothing you can do when somebody's really stuck in that self-loathing piece, right? And so when we rewrite our story or look, even try to look at something from somebody else's perspective, so that's bringing in empathy, right? When we look at something from someone else's perspective and begin to understand where they might be coming from, that's truly when doors open because we're able to see both sides of the story. And in anything, you can take a step back and look at both sides of a story or of a situation and feel empathy and kindness for both sides. And even when I look at like dealing with a really toxic person, I can look at their situation and be like, the way that they're behaving is horrible and I don't necessarily agree with it. And they could look at the way I'm behaving and say, like, she's a horrible person too, from their perspective. Absolutely. Right? Because some people are in anybody's story, one person could be somebody's hero and another person's devil, essentially. Right? And so, and even when we look at history, there's many cases of history of somebody who's who's viewed as a hero in one perspective, who's viewed as like the enemy in another. And I think that's something really important to consider. And so when you're looking at your life story, like it doesn't mean everything has to be sunshine and rainbows and everything that happened to you have to just forgive and let go of. It means that everything that was hard that you have to like had to overcome, be gentle with yourself for it. And then also learn how to set some really healthy boundaries around the things that are not serving you right now, right? And so when I look at my life, especially, I look at like setting healthy boundaries that I had support with a psychologist for to set healthy boundaries after talking to my psychologist for multiple years on family dynamics and how that those family dynamics affected me and how addictions that run in my family were really having an impact on me and I didn't like them. And so having to set boundaries around like I need some space and psychologist office or don't talk to me has been like one of the biggest breaths of fresh air that I've ever had in my life. And I think that sometimes when we are looking at our story and our perspective, we can really look at how we show up and how we can set some really healthy boundaries for ourselves around our perspective and around how we show up. Oops.
I really like it, Amanda, when you talk about dealing with toxic people, how people can actually translate same story different. They can like look at me and say, oh, I like Nomsa, or somebody can say, oh, I can't stand her. Like you're saying, we are not everybody's story. I love that. And then setting boundaries of the things that don't save you as well. I think you mentioned that as well. That is really, really important. I think it's really, really important to acknowledge the story that we've been telling ourselves and be honest with ourselves and what narrative do we repeat to ourselves as well. And then write down without editing even the painful part because it's your story. If it's your story, then the one your subconscious mind has been rehearsing, then you have to, because we might forget things. What I've noticed is whatever we do, we might forget it, but our subconscious mind still has that memory. So is then how do we write moving forward, write our story? It's like myself, when I came out to under sacrifice, I said to everyone that was helping me, okay, I have to understand that these people want to kill me. So, and then I was like, can you actually then teach me how to defend myself, how to take them to God? And I was like, I had to find out what happens, what is their judgment to God for making that decision. And then they there to tell me, and then I was like, okay, for that judgment to be taken away, what do they need to do? And then they told me what do they need to do. And then I was like, okay, what happened if I take them to the throne of grace? And they were like, that is death unless they defend themselves. So I was like, okay, so cool. Teach me how to defend myself then. But at the same time, I had to be honest why I was doing that. For me, it was survival. It was like, I need to survive. I need to raise my children. I need to live my life. I need to build my life. No one can take that away from me. So I had to be really, really, really honest. But then I had to rewrite the story. Gratitude now. I was like, I'm going to write my story now, thanking them. I'm going to thank them for making that decision. Because if they did not make that decision wanting to do this, I wouldn't have known who I was. And I would have got up in the morning, gone to work. I wouldn't have pushed myself. I wouldn't have been the person that I am today. So I was like, so I need to rewrite my past now with the gratitude. So that's how I had to actually rewrite my story. So it's really, really important. What advice would you give someone, Amanda? Because um, you've gone through so much challenges going through divorce and raising your daughter as a single mom. What advice would you give someone who is struggling? Because some people, they stay in that story and that story becomes a chain. They can't change themselves. They can't move forward through. They're angry. They don't want to let it go. So what advice can you give someone to just let it go and just move on, rewrite your story?
I think one of the biggest things is like realizing that you're not alone in that struggle. There are people all over the world who are having that exact same struggle as you, struggling to get out of bed, struggling to figure it out, struggling to with themselves on how they ended up in such a awful situation. And that's one of the struggles that I definitely had, was like, how did I end up with such a toxic situation, and then how do I get myself out of it, and how was I so blindsided, and how did I not see the clues along the way. And so I think that some of it is self-forgiveness, but also some of it is recognizing that you're not alone. And one of the books that I was talking about the other day that I read, but also I've got a few books actually to recommend. So one of them would be The 5 Second Rule by Mel Robbins. I just read that one, and I know she wrote it a while ago, but it was essentially like she was completely stuck. And then she started this like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 takeoff. And like whatever it was that popped into her mind, like maybe I should go talk to that person. She was like counted down and like went and talked to the person. And like getting out of bed in the morning, she didn't hit snooze a bunch of times. She went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and blasted off and like got up and did the thing that she knew she needed to do. Fast forward, she's now the most booked female speaker in the world. And she also has like one of the number 1 best-selling books in the world that just came out this year called Let Them. And in the first like paragraph of the book, she talks about how she was $800,000 in debt. She had no job. Her husband's business was failing and they had 3 kids and she couldn't get out of bed. And then she began with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and completely changed her life. And so no matter how stuck you are, and I look at my own life, and oh, she also said she was 21 years old at that time when the $800,000 in debt thing was happening. And I look at my own life and I'm like, whew, I'm not nearly as in the hole and stuck as she is, and that she can get herself out of that, then I can get myself out of the struggles that I'm in. And there's people who've had way worse struggles even than Mel Robbins has, who have been able to figure it out and get themselves out of that like awful situation just by shifting things in their life. And it could be like the simplest thing, like Mel talked about, of just like 5 4 3 2 1, get out of bed. When I was first going through my divorce, and first, like one of the first books I read on learning to heal was You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And I also read a couple of her books. One of them specifically, I can't remember what it was called, but it talked about her life story essentially. And I read her life story and I was like, oh my goodness, if she can overcome what she overcame and become the amazing person that she became, then like anybody can do it. Really, like there's just so many stories of triumph of people who were in way worse situations than I was in, or that you're in, or anybody that I know was in, and they completely transformed their lives by just doing simple things that eventually became really big things, right? And so my suggestion for people would be to know you're not alone, and then also start reading some books that will really help you. That's what helped me. And if you don't like reading, then listen to them or find some podcasts that are going to really empower you. Like The Miracle Morning would be a really good one if you're struggling with something. Hal Elrod's book, I think that's his last name, would be another great place to start.
I like the story of Mel. It sounds really so unique and so beautiful for someone to transform their lives, because we can transform our life even if life does not make sense. It's how you respond in that moment where it can actually change your story. If you respond with negativity, like you said, Amanda, why this is happening to me, then that would be like blaming yourself and blaming people around you. But if you just say, okay, bring it on, whatever the universe is bringing, and just say, okay, I'm going to respond positive and just find ways of moving forward with life. And just is it easy? It's not easy. Identifying your core beliefs behind that story is really, really important, and asking yourself, because what Mel did, she asked herself, what does this story say about me or others, the world? Or what does it say about the world? And she saw the world as a better place where she can change and not being a victim. She saw herself as a hero. So I think that is really, really important to highlight your beliefs that limit your growth, love, and purpose. And I was thinking, there's a woman that their company has been really, really annoying me, wanting to advertise. And I was like thinking, I was like, how am I going to advertise? This is so expensive. And this guy kept calling, he kept calling. And then this woman, when she came, she would not take no for an answer. But then she did something. She was like, okay, we can advertise. Instead of advertising around the country, we can focus on different places, like a few places. So I was like, yeah. And then when they finish that writing that domain and everything, I said to myself, sometimes some people, they come into your life for a reason, or sometimes you may look at things and they make a decision, you make a decision. I said, this woman, she might just change my life. So I was like, sometimes we get scared, we fear and things like that, because she was like, nonsense, just get your card and give me, just get your card. You've got the money, get your card. Let's roll this. Let's keep this rolling. And I was like, oh, okay then. So it was like, but the story that I was telling myself at that moment, I was thinking about affordability, and I can't afford it. So that was the story that I kept telling myself. So it's really, really important to really rewrite your story. And also, the people that we surround ourselves with is really, really important, because there are some people who enter our lives to make our lives feel worse than it was before they entered our lives. So what advice can you give somebody who has got really, really toxic friends and toxic people around, like business acquaintance and stuff?
Well, and that's one of the things that they talk about with people with addictions, like when they go to rehab. Rehab's great, but then as soon as you're put back into your life, you go back into those same patterns because that's what's normal for you, and our brains essentially go to what's easiest most of the time. And so if you really want to change something, then you have to change things about yourself, and that includes changing who you surround yourself with. And when we change who we surround ourselves with, things begin to change. And there's, I forget who it was that talks, I think it's Jim Rohn. He talks about how you are essentially a combination of the five closest people to you. And when you look at the five closest people to you, are they helping you grow? Are they helping you become a better version of yourself? And if your answer is no, then you need to start surrounding yourself with other people who are doing what you want to do, or who are able to really take a look at where you're at and help you grow. And it's interesting in this conversation that I had with one of my friends the other day, because she's dating this guy who's really quite wealthy, and he said to her, like, oh, Amanda's not very motivated because she's just an elementary school teacher. And my friend laughed and was like, yeah, she's an elementary school teacher, but she's also writing children's books, and she speaks on podcasts, and she designs courses. And I think it was because, like, I didn't become a principal or assistant principal or something, even though I have my master's. And I said to her, I said, one of the reasons why I haven't done that yet is because I'm a single mom, and I have to be able to drop my daughter off at school and pick her up from the bus. And if I was a principal or assistant principal, I couldn't be as present as I need to be at home. And when she gets bigger, I might pursue those avenues, but not right now. And I also want to pursue these other things that might actually take me out of the education realm completely eventually. Not education, like, I'll always be a teacher in some capacity, but I don't know if I always want to work for the public school district, or maybe I'll go and teach at an international school or something. But then she told them some of the ideas I have about businesses, and he offered to sit down and, like, look at a business plan for me. And so I was like, that's just like who right? Who might be the one person that you need to set your life off in a different direction. And then I was sitting in a PD day on Monday, and one of the sessions I sat through was all these, like, free amazing resources that they're designing for kids on, like, financial literacy. And and it's all free. And one of the things was, like, one of the questions was, how is this program free? Because there's so many options for it, and they have a whole bunch of partners that donate to make it a free program. And so I'm like, even if I wanted to start something that was a nonprofit in that capacity, to really help kids and parents with mindfulness and really healing their lives, then, like, there's an option for me right there. Right? Is to have connections with people who have the same vision for you for kids and helping people. And if I could connect with people that have those same visions, then maybe we could do it without even having to have a big startup, because we could have big companies donate to our cause. And so sometimes it's just who you surround yourself with, right? or being open, right? Being open to getting suggestions from other people who know more, because you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. It's one of the things I told my daughter when she was really little, because she didn't like not knowing things or not being the best at something. And I was like, you never want to be the best at something in the room. You always want to have at least one or two people in the room who can teach you something, because if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Right? You want to surround yourself with people who are going to challenge you and who are going to challenge you to grow.
Oh yeah, definitely. You have to be around people that are going to challenge you. I think is everything else is really comes down to uh, the people around you who you know as well, because that person, they enter your life, they give you just one information and it changes everything. So it's really, but you're motivated anyway. You should tell this guy, ask Nomsa. Nomsa will tell you that I'm motivated, and one day I'm going to be one of the big speakers in the world at Ngosi talk shows. So anyone that stays here, they are motivated. So yeah, but I think sometimes it's right. I'm glad that he asked questions, because if he does not ask questions, he wouldn't have known your anything about your motivations. If he would
Mhm.
have just said, "Oh, that's because you are his girlfriend, his friend," so that means he cares about her, and then he cares about people around her as well. So that's really, really important. It shows that sometimes it's just you have to surround yourself with the good friends and good people that can take your life to the next level. You'll be surprised, like myself. I think when people see me on social media, they're like, Nomsa is motivated and stuff. But there are some people that are around me, they just say, oh, that one.
Mhm.
They don't see me as motivated, but that's how sometimes people see you as a person. But you have to know, you have to write your own story. Really,
One of
really.
the, when you're talking right now, one of the things I was thinking about is a friend sent me Joe Rogan's podcast where he's interviewing Mr. Beast. Do you know who
Yeah.
Mr. Beast is, Nomza?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Joe Rogan's interviewing Mr. Beast, and essentially Mr. Beast is the has the biggest YouTube channel
Oh
in the world.
yeah, I always check him out.
And on Joe Rogan's podcast, he talked about how he started making his YouTube videos when he was 11 years old, and he's now 23. And so he's already been making his YouTube videos for over 10 years, and nothing really took off until he was 19 years old. And essentially, it didn't take off until he went to college, and he hated college. His mom forced him to go to college, and he skipped all of his college classes, and he basically was like on YouTube for like 16 hours a day. He was saying,
Really?
I really had no choice other to like make this work, or like go home and have my mom like lose her mind at me because she's been like paying for me to go to college and I haven't been showing up. And
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty hilarious, but also like, wow, he had some guts to just be like, I'm going all in on this, and like this better work, or I'm gonna have a
How
very
did he do that for 16 hours?
because it's his obsession. He's obsessed with it. And he's like, I would still be doing this even if I wasn't making any money. And I loved what he talked about too, where he's like, I was living in an apartment for $700 a month with a roommate. So we were literally paying like 350 each. And like every bit of money that he makes from his YouTube channel, he pours back into his YouTube channel. And he's like, I had to move out of that crappy apartment essentially because it got broken into. So he's like, I had to move to a little bit better part of town. But he's like, I just live in a normal house and I drive a normal car, and everything goes back into my business. And I just like found him so grounded, and so like you would expect somebody that's 23 years old that's making the kind of money that he's making to be like, I bought this mansion and I bought this, and he's completely opposite. He doesn't care about the money. He only cares about like growth.
Adding
And
value.
and adding value to the world. And the nonprofits that he has started are just like phenomenal. And if you had taken a look at him, I don't know, because I only know him through like my students being like, can we watch Mr. Beast if it's like a inside recess day or something. And I hadn't really looked into him at all until one of my friends was like, you should listen to this podcast. It was fascinating.
Can you
And so
send it to me,
good.
Amanda, please?
Yeah, yeah, I will. And it was really fascinating. And I think if you looked at him even 8 years ago, you would have been like, what's this goof doing? Right? But he is kind of like this goofy guy and but like so passionate and so passionate about helping people. So like really if I think if you're trying to rewrite your story, really dig deep into what is your purpose. And if you don't know, and that's one of the things he talked about too, was because Joe Rogan asked him about school, and I actually just made a little TikTok video on Instagram video on essentially that question of that Joe Rogan had asked about like what would you did you like school and what do you wish that they would have taught you in school? And Mr. Beast was like, I hated school. And one of the things that I wish school focused on more was helping kids find their passions, because I had to find my passion outside of school in YouTube, and I agree with him. I do think that we should focus more on trying to find open doors for kids to find their
Yeah,
passion and give as many opportunities as we can for them. And I know there are some schools that are definitely trying to do that. And I've given the example of like people who bash schools, and then I'm like, but I know there's struggles in the system, but there's also some really good things too. Like for example, my students, because of our gym teacher, they all got to go skiing this year for the first time, and some of them had never been skiing in their life. And so that might be the only time they ever get to go skiing in their entire lives. And so, and we live in or I teach in a very upper middle class part of the city that I live in, and we live an hour from some of the mountains in the world that people pay thousands of dollars to come to every single year because we're so close to Banff. And essentially those kids will have that experience their whole life because of the school. And I do think that there are some trying to get more of that into the school system. It's just hard sometimes with the structure of it. And so my question would be, how do we open the doors so that we can help kids find their passion? Because as their teacher, that's my goal, right? I want to introduce kids to as many things as I possibly can so that they can find something that they're totally passionate about, so they obsess about it like Mr. Beast does with YouTube, right? But if we got all teachers and school districts to think in that same way, maybe we could shift things.
yeah, I always check. I is on my channel as well, Mr. Beast. Yeah, I've just I add him and stuff. Um, I wish I can meet him one day. Yeah, please just send me the podcast, because I've met lots of big. He's got 386. How is he living a normal life? He's got 386 million followers.
Mhm.
My goodness.
He was so just like grounded and genuine in that podcast. It was very heartwarming for sure. And how he's like, and we're just growing all of his nonprofits, like his side businesses that he's trying to grow to help people and
To
to
help people.
giving
Just
giving people like food. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. Mhm.
yeah, I think when you work really hard like ourselves, the way we've been through what we've been through, and then we'll be telling the similar story one day, because
Mhm.
we've gone through that where it's been a struggle, but someday things are gonna be okay. We're gonna be telling a different story. That's what I'm holding on, that we'll be telling people that you just have to be patient. I think anything that you put your blood, sweat in it, it gives profit in the end. As long you add value to people and you want to change people's lives, and it just adds value. So it's important to write your story. Keep writing your story, and if you don't like the way the story is, just rewrite it the way you want. I think that is really, really important to speak to your new story out loud, to create affirmation. Like myself, I pray a lot. I'm not defined. I know that I'm not defined by my past. I'm the author of my future. I say out loud and I own it. I live it. I walk in my own lane. And at the same time, like you said from the beginning, Amanda, that we are not for everybody. I also understand that I might not be other people's cup of tea, but I'm okay with it. But I'm okay walking in my own lane and getting to know myself and embracing that story. Whatever pain I go through, I embrace it, and the joy that I go through, I embrace it just for me to live that life. Uh, that's why I always say never ever compare your life with anyone, because comparing my life with your life with Nomsa, that will be a torture. There are
Mhm.
times where I pray for 7 hours. Like,
Wow.
yeah, last week we were praying for 48 hours,
Wow.
no eating, just
No.
praying 48 hours and just connecting with our body, soul, and spirit.
Mhm.
When we finished, and I was like, life is a joy.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you can't, like this guy, Mr. Beast, see how big he is on YouTube, but he's still humble himself. He's still like a nice guy. And everything is just come down with who we come across to, who we associate with, the story that we tell ourselves. For me, I'm very lucky. I've got good friends,
Mhm.
really, really good friends, and we help each other out. But for me, I intend to, like, I don't like when I'm doing something, I don't like it to stay in a stagnation story. I
Mhm.
like to dig deep. I like to find out why I'm in that stagnation. How can I find miracles? How can I move forward with my life and stuff? And I find that God brings different people, like you were talking about your friend with this guy that they're dating. So this guy could be an angel to actually help you to, because you were complaining about being stuck as well. How far has that gone, Amanda?
Chuck? Oh, I've been trying to, like, one of the things that when I read Mel's Robbins Let Them book,
Yeah.
she said, like, I didn't really take off her, like, talking about herself. I didn't really take off until I started like being more present on social media. And so I've been trying to make like a video or two each week. Maybe three.
That's so
Yeah,
good.
so I've been more consistent with that. I also had a friend reach out and say, you were making these videos and then you stopped, and what happened? And it was really that I just got distracted and wasn't thinking anybody was listening anyways. And they said, I really valued what you had to say, and I was listening to them quite often, and one of them actually really shifted things for me. And so I was like, okay, well, if it helps one person, then I'll keep doing them or I'll get back started on doing them again. So and it's just some consistency that I need to step up with again. For sure, but also to have like a really clear vision of what I want to do, because I have like a million ideas bouncing around in my head all the time because I'm very ADD. Um, but like organized ADD. So I definitely need to decide on like what focus I want to focus on, and that's the part I'm feeling stuck with. And so like, do I want to focus on like creativity and collaboration and critical thinking skills and helping kids and schools really focus on that? Or do I want to just help more general in like helping people navigate the traumas that they've been through and like healing their lives based on like what I've had to struggle with and the tools that I use to empower my life to overcome my anxiety disorder and to really like feel empowered by everything and just to like feel calm and content in my own body. I used to say like that I'd never be able to get off of anti-anxiety medication unless I like moved to like an ashram or something. But I definitely have been able to, and that's something that's pretty powerful to overcome. And I've done it through like meditation, yoga, journaling, writing, and taking supplements that my body needs. So, and just really like a vitamins essentially that will help with anxiety that aren't a pharmaceutical, because I've cut trying to get as far away from pharmaceuticals as possible.
Where do you get your vitamins?
Just online. Yeah.
Yeah, I like vitamins. I
Mhm.
I take vitamins, making sure that I eat healthy and just do things keeping healthy. Yeah, I think consistency is really, really important.
Mhm.
Whatever we do, sometimes we may not feel like it. There are times where I record like yesterday, 2 days ago, I recorded my dance videos. It took me an hour and a half, and then after I've recorded them and I realized that actually I don't like them, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to re-record the day after, tomorrow, and then after I record them, then but it's just that consistency where you don't feel like it, where you wake up and say, okay, I'm gonna do this. Just do one of the Mel Robbins is thing. Mel is idea, and just get on with it and just do it. Because if you don't, no one will do it for you. And if you don't rewrite that story, no one will do it for you. If you have a story of, oh, nobody cares, people this, it's a stagnation. You have to like be aware of, like my pastor would tell us that you can't trust the people because people will turn their back on you, but you can be determined to trust yourself, to show up for yourself. Because when you rely on people, they might not show up for you. And when they don't show up for you, that's when you get disappointed. But if they don't show up for you, you show up for yourself. So, which is really, really, really important. And I've learned that myself as well, that I have to show up for myself. If I
Mhm.
don't show up for myself and depend on people, if people don't show up for me, then I get disappointed. So I just do whatever I can to keep showing up. And please do send me that podcast, Amanda. I love to listen to it. I
When
like
I
Mr. Beast. Mr.
when you
Beast.
want to show up for yourself, I think it's really important to like set a goal for yourself and then hold yourself accountable, and something that you can actually measure that you did. And so, like I was saying at the beginning, last year, I set a goal for myself to write 52 blog entries in a year and to hold myself accountable and be consistent with it. And I was able to achieve it, but not quite in 52 weeks. I think it took me probably about 60 weeks to get it all done, and then to turn it into my latest book, which is called Your Abundant Life. And it's just about seeing abundance all around you and really shifting your perspective to seeing the abundance that you have just in your life right now. And it's available on Amazon. But essentially, that was like my, can I hold myself accountable? Can I show up for myself every single week for an entire year while I'm also teaching full time and being a single mom and running my house and taking care of my house and taking care of my yard and all of the things. And so that's one of the things I think, even if we do set a goal and we don't quite make it exactly by our timeline, do we still follow through and complete it in the end? And I'm really grateful to myself for setting that goal and for doing it. And I know you're a little bit annoyed with me that I quit writing every single week, but I will get back to it again. I just need a little bit of time to really.
Miss your blogs.
I know, I'm sorry, but I will get back to it. I just need a whoosh of inspiration on what I want to focus on for a number of weeks, because once I have like clear topics of what I want to focus on, then it's easy. And when I decided to write that 52 blog entries focusing on abundance in my life, I literally sat down after New Year's and like had 52 ideas, and it all just like came to me in like a whoosh of like, here's 52 ideas. And I just like started writing them all down. And that made it really easy. So every week I knew what my topic was going to be because I already had them written down in a journal. And so I really need just like a whoosh of inspiration again to like help me focus. And then that makes the writing piece easy, because once I already have something started, it's really easy to keep going with it. And then I came to the end of that and I haven't had a big whoosh of inspiration on what I really want to focus on again. So when I do, I'll start again.
Yeah, I think that is really, really important. It's 2 o'clock. It's really, really important, Amanda, like what you're saying, to really hold yourself accountable and just do what you can do. And if you can't do it on your own, get an accountability partner. And I used to get Dr. Biggett a lot. If I find myself like struggling, I will be like, please, could you hold me accountable? Or Kamau. Kamau is very strict, though. It's just like you put the deadline and then it shows up before the deadline to remind you that you got to finish what you say you'll finish it before the deadline.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah. So at the moment, I've put him on the side as my accountability partner. But yeah, that's all good. So guys, if you're watching us from any part of social media, please do subscribe to our channel or on YouTube, and please do join the group Unique Billionaire Mindset and Gossip Talk Shows. And go to the website as well, www.hseia.coach. And let's just enjoy the ride. If you're looking for love, come and join us. Find your own voice, come and join us. Any words of encouragement, Amanda?
Um, Shifting your perspective on whatever you're struggling with is really like truly a gift, and you're the only one that has the power to shift that. So I hope that you choose to.
Yeah. God bless everyone. See you tomorrow and live with grace. Hey, hey, hello.
Appearance today.
Hey.